Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Joy-Filled Universe podcast. I am your host, Lisa Ryan, and today we are going to talk about something that I am so guilty of, most especially when it comes to trusting in the universe once launching my amazing rockets of manifestation, desire. And what might that manifestation, foul ball, or yellow flag on the play be, might you ask? Well, it is messing with the hows. Do you know what I mean by this? Have you ever found yourself obsessing over how your dream or desire is going to happen? How will I meet my soulmate? How will I get that windfall of money? How will my business grow? How will I find and afford my dream home? How will I find and land my dream job? How will I ever get motivated to exercise more? The list, my friends, is endless. And guess what? None of the how is our business. None of it. And I just want to say here, I don't know if I want to willingly admit this, but I will. I happen to be a very type A kind of human. I love to have a plan. I love to have contingency plans. I love to know exactly what I'm going to do, when, where, and most especially how I'm going to do it. So if you are thinking to yourself, you know what, I'm hearing your words, Lisa, and I can totally relate to this, or even I'm hearing your words and I see myself peppered all through them, well, then today's episode, it is most especially for you. And I certainly know it's for me too, because I do all of this right along with you. So we are going to talk about what messing with the hows is and why messing with the hows slows down our manifestations. And we are also going to discuss what it means to lean into trust and being in alignment versus out of alignment, as well as taking inspired action versus forced action, and how this too also affects our ability to manifest. So the name of the game today is to have awareness and to stop stressing, forcing, or micromanaging our manifestations, which is going to set us up to being open to the universe, removing resistance, and allowing a more free flow of abundance to come into our reality. Okay, so let's just kick this off with explaining what we mean by messing with the hows. All right, very simply put here, when it comes to manifesting our desires, regardless of what it is, the rules of engagement are this. Your job is to get clear on what you want and why you want it. The universe's job to orchestrate the how. And when I say this, the hows are the mechanics of how our desire shows up. And when we choose to ignore this very simple equation and we try to control and obsess over the hows, we are stepping into the lane of the universe. And honestly, when we do this, our actions are saying, I know better than you, universe, so get out of my way and let me drive. And as a result, the manifestation of our desire starts to slow down. And one of my favorite metaphors that aligns to messing with the hows, which I believe I learned from Esther and Jerry Hicks and Abraham Hicks, and that's the GPS, or whether it's Google Maps, Waze, Apple Maps, or any other GPS tool that we apply when driving our car. Yeah, it's this metaphor that I love to use as an example. So when we program our GPS and hit start in our cars, we have no doubt in our minds that we will absolutely arrive at our planned destination. And as we start moving along our path, we are perfectly happy up until the GPS tells us to do something and we think we know better. So we're driving along and the GPS says, turn right at the next light. And we start to think, I don't believe I should turn here. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to go straight because I've gone straight here before. And so what do we do then? After we have this thought, we then choose usually to ignore the GPS, and we continue straight because we feel like we know better. And in many instances, we soon find ourselves sitting in traffic, the arrival time has changed to a later time, and the GPS, it starts to recalculate. Now, the beauty here is that we are still going to get to our final destination. It's just going to take longer. Why? Because we chose to mess with the hows. Our job was to be clear on what we wanted and why. We wanted to go to Trader Joe's to pick up a few bags of our favorite trail mix. The how belonged to the GPS, but since we inserted ourselves, we slowed down the arrival to our destination. And manifesting, my friends, works the very same way. Again, our job, get clear on what we want, confirm that we are in alignment with what we want, and then the incredible universe figures out all of the magical details. We don't have to worry about it. And now I just mentioned something called alignment. Yeah, confirming that we are in alignment with what we want. And that is really important. And it is oftentimes a key point that people can miss. So here's the deal. When we are in alignment, we are connected with the energy of our desire. And by that, I mean, we feel good and expansive, trusting, excited, inspired, and open. And from that place, taking inspired action feels natural and flowy, and the universe can happily and successfully play its part by delivering the hows super easily. Now, on the flip side, when we are out of alignment, we are thinking about our desire with thoughts that can stir up emotions of fear and doubt, overload, intimidation, or lack. We start to second guess and force or micromanage, and sometimes we can even feel overwhelmed, which triggers stressful emotions. And when all of these feels start to crop up on us, we absolutely are messing with the hows because we are out of alignment with our desire. So let's put some examples out here. An example of being in alignment can be when we are looking to manifest love, for example. Instead of stressing about when or how we will meet that special someone, we choose to enjoy life, literally feel the love that we want to manifest every day and radiate joy and follow the gentle, intuitive nudges, which we can often have show up for us as that little voice inside. You ever hear that little voice inside? That is quite often our intuition, those intuitive nudges that are speaking to us from our soul and from our heart. So say you are moving right along, just living your best life and feeling all of the lovely emotions of being in love. Then out of the blue, you're scrolling on your phone and you notice like an advert for a community group that sparks an interest in you, whether it be a club or a gym or a hobby group of sorts or volunteering, stuff like that. And with that energy and listening to your intuitive voice inside say, hey, this looks awesome, let's join. And then taking that inspired action to sign up and meet up, finding that special someone soon becomes effortless. And guess what? Sometimes that special someone has been right in front of you all along and we never noticed. But when we are in alignment and open to receiving, opportunities that we never saw before become blatantly apparent. And now I'll give you an example here that aligns to myself. So when I was single, my friends were encouraging me to sign up on a dating app. They offered to take my photos, help me to build a profile, all of it. And I genuinely thought about it and said, why not give it a go? Because I had friends and family who had met really terrific people on dating apps. However, every time I started to think, which app should I use? I need to get some photos. What should I say about myself? All of this stirred up negative vibes for me. None of it was something I looked forward to. Rather, I kept rescheduling times to connect with my friends who wanted to help me out because I felt anxious and awkward and disingenuous. I just didn't feel myself. So I let it go. I chose to just let it go and said, you know what? This is not for me because it was not in alignment with who I am. And as soon as I made that decision to just move past it, I immediately felt relief. I knew that what I wanted and why was in alignment, but the path to the desire was not, because it was me that was figuring out the how. So I let it go and I stayed in my little happy, energetic state of knowing that a special someone would come along in divine timing. Then, I'm going to say, a handful of months later, I was just embracing life when one of my really good friends mentioned a guy that she had met at an event. And he was someone that we had also discussed almost a year prior. And for some reason, this time, I felt the need to ask about him. I inquired about what he was like and if he was single. And I even went so far to say that if he was single and if he was interested, to give him my number. And I rarely, if ever, would have said something like that. Really, it was totally out of character. But for some reason, these were all words driven by pure inspiration. I was purely just feeling inspired to just flow, like, yeah, sure, give him my number. If he's single and just wants to give me a call, have at it. And it felt happy and joyful to me. And now this was all back, I'm going to say, in 2021. And as things eventually evolved, I stayed joyful through the entire adventure without forcing or fearing anything. And that connection that was made, well, that is now my current boyfriend, Michael, that I talk about. So it all worked out in such an amazing way. And now, to pull the thread and the misalignment side of things, say the same desire. But had I continued down the road of the dating app and forced myself into it, I would have likely been swiping endlessly, forcing dates, getting frustrated when nothing was clicking, and I'm not making any meaningful connections. And I would have likely started telling myself things like, it's never going to happen. There's no one out there for me. This is pointless. The energy from being misaligned starts to repel what we truly want because it is resistance in our path. It slows our manifestations down. And it is most unfortunately at this point when many people give up on their dream. But again, in many cases, it's not the dream that is misaligned. It's the fact that we can't get out of our own way and let go and trust and believe and let the universe do its job. Okay, so that's my spiel on alignment and misalignment. Now let's talk about another ingredient when it comes to not messing with the hows, and that is understanding the difference between taking inspired action and forcing the hows. This is something I noodled with for a very long time, and this is how I think about it now. Inspired action is when we are in alignment, we feel intuitive nudges, we are filled with curiosity and excitement, and we act from a place of joy, not fear. Forced action is when we are out of alignment, we come from desperation, feel like we need to micromanage everything, and we often act from a place of lack, scarcity, and fear. Okay, so inspired action is much easier than you think, because when we are in alignment, the ability to trust the universe and follow the process without any resistance is so easy. However, when we start to notice that our mind is taking over and wants to control everything, well, that is a clear sign that we are definitely out of alignment. And we need to reset ourselves, stop messing with the house, and allow the universe to recalculate and figure out all of the magical details. So if you are now still scratching your head and thinking, I'm pretty sure I understand this. Maybe a little more examples would be helpful. Well, then I'm going to give you a few more examples to chew on. All right. So say you are looking for your dream job because you want to love going to work every day and making a salary that feels great to you. So your what and your how, you got that covered. An inspired action could be feeling nudged to reach out to an old friend just to catch up, and the conversation randomly leads to a new opportunity. Now, on the flip side, messing with the house could look like refreshing your inbox constantly, wondering if your application that you send out actually made it, or figuring, do I need to call HR for the 5th time to make sure that they got it and if they've made a decision yet, or starting to think to yourself like, oh God, I bet they didn't even see it, and what if they did see it and didn't think I was good enough? I should just take back my application. You know what? Just screw it. I'm getting it back and I'm giving up. I'm not going to bother, right? And that's when the dream ends. And we want to stay away from that. So now I'm going to give you a really good personal examples of how I recently messed with the house. And I'm going to talk about my website. Yeah, my website that I really want to get up and running, but I noodled with the house. I got in there with my little active mind and my overactive imagination, and I just couldn't get out of my own way. So here's what happened to me, right? I had been talking to friends who were all in my coaching cohort, and we are all pursuing different kinds of roles and businesses and ways to apply the skills that we had all accomplished and continue to grow as certified coaches. Awesome. Well, everyone was getting busy with their websites and social media. So I was like, right, I've got to get on that too. I have to get my website up and running. So I called this company that I did very little research on, yet they had a really big name. So I figured, how could anything go wrong, right? So I had a phone conversation with a salesperson, and they really seemed to get what I wanted. So I slept on it, and then this person called me up the next day, and I decided to move on to paying $1,200 up front for someone to help me create, build, and launch a website that could get me started while having all of the wonderful mechanics in place for me to continue to grow. That sounded awesome to me, right? Yes, great. However, when I was making the payment, something didn't feel right. But I ignored that voice inside that said, maybe you should pause on this, Lisa. Maybe you should think about this just a little bit more and do some research. And I thought, no, I don't want to. I want a website. This is how I'm going to get it. So I'm paying. And I did. Well, that was at the beginning of July. And for the rest of July into mid-August, it was awful. Hours spent on the phone with these people. They would send me documents to read and what to expect. I would schedule an appointment, and the meeting would be nothing like the documents I read. And when I would ask about what we were doing and why we were doing it, the person would literally just say, "Yes, ma'am," and keep going. Even when I didn't ask a yes or no question, just, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am." She just kept saying that. And then she said to me at the end of our call, "Okay, based on our discussion today, you have 24 hours to make any changes, and then the team will move into building the site, and from there, you can't make any further changes." I was like, wait, what? What did you even capture from me? I don't even know what you were building with or from. So I had meetings that never went well. They ended up sending me this link at one point and said, "Congrats, your site is ready for final review." I was like, what? And when I clicked on the link, I was like, oh my God, this is awful. So I called and I complained. And then another appointment was set up to start all over again after 1 full month of pure frustration. And so when this new appointment was approaching, getting ready felt heavy and unorganized and stressful. And when I thought about taking the call, I felt anxious and tense and frustrated. And none of this is what I should be feeling when building a website called Joy Filled Universe. I was like, oh my God, what is happening here? So then I finally stopped everything and said, I would like my money back. This is not working out. And I will spare you the struggle I endured to get my money back. Suffice to say, it was not easy, but they had a lot of recorded calls to see that I honestly tried to get this task accomplished. So I was ultimately successful, thank God. And here's the thing, from the start, I knew I wanted a website and I knew why I wanted the website. I didn't know how I was going to get there. So rather than vision the desire coming into my reality and staying in alignment and waiting on those gentle nudges that move me into taking inspired action, I let my mind take over, which pulled me onto a path that was completely out of alignment for me. And well, you know the rest. So you might be thinking, well, now what? You still want your website. And you know what? You're right. I do. But guess what happened after I got myself back into alignment? I had told a few friends the story, and some of these friends have friends who know how to create websites, and they even know a few things about the websites themselves. So my friend Laura, she offered for me to come over, and together we are going to create my website why, and just pretty much like my website vision board. And that feels manageable to me. That feels exciting to me. That feels successful to me. And it most especially feels in alignment to me. Also, another thing I just want to say, I was also trying to work with this company, this crummy company, to create my logo. Well, I never got there, thank God, and I ended up creating a sketch on my own of what I would really like my super cool logo for Joy Filled Universe to be. And guess what? Shortly after creating my little sketch, my friend Bridget sent me a beautiful sketch of what she drew from a photo of an adorable dog. And I was stunned because I knew that she loved art, but I never knew really just how talented she was. So I shared with her my ideas for my logo. And guess what? She said to me, hey, I could draw that for you if you want. I was like, what? Sure, I would love that help. And again, this feels easy and it feels in the flow. And I took the inspired action to create a sketch on my own with my marginal artistic ability. And when given the random nudge to share this with my friend Bridget, I did it, I shared, and voila, I have a dear friend who is going to help me with my logo. And that feels amazing. Okay, so now this would not be a Joy Filled Universe podcast without a few tools and tricks to help us with not messing with the hows while manifesting our abundant dreams. And in today's pod, we talked about getting clear on our desires and knowing what and why. And I think we're all pretty clear on that part, which is actually, in my opinion, the really fun part of manifesting. I do love to dream. I really, really do. However, what is something that we can do when we find ourselves falling out of alignment with our desires? How do we get back on track when we notice that we're forcing or messing with the hows? Well, try this. Pause and take a step back. Literally, when we find ourselves starting to feel and act from fear-based thoughts, completely stop what we are doing and give ourselves some space to breathe while pausing, then reconnect with the why. Remind ourselves why we want the dream, the feelings behind it, and then let ourselves drift into those emotions of love and joy, freedom and fulfillment. This alone is going to start to raise our vibe and shift our energy. Another tool, ask for guidance. Say, universe, show me the next aligned step. I'm releasing the hows to you. And guess what? By asking the universe for guidance, we are getting ourselves back into a mindset of trust and flow and belief. We are moving away from the control of the mind and toward the knowing, feeling, and believing that the universe will take care of the details. And find comfort in that awareness. Find comfort there. It will definitely help you from a flow, trust, and belief perspective. And I personally like to say, thank you, angels. I say angels, you can say universe, God, source, whatever works for you. I say, thank you, angels, for showing me that the issue has been resolved. I never have to say what issue. I just say the issue so that my angels and team of light, they just fix anything that is dragging me down in any way, and they bring me back to that free flow state of alignment. Now, how about another tool? This is always a good tool, and it is so applicable in so many areas of our life, and that is write a gratitude list. Yes, write a list of 10 things that we are thankful for. And you can even take it a step further. And I love to do this. I write a list of all the incredible things I have already manifested into my life. Because when we honestly take a step back and remind ourselves of things that have come into our lives as an honest manifestation, it is something that quickly reminds us that we are limitless when we remain open and in alignment. And even if you are kind of new to this whole manifestation mindset thing, if you really think about it, I guarantee you that there are miracles that have happened in your life because you let go of the hows and believed that everything was working out for you. And lastly, act on the nudges. Follow those small, joyful impulses, knowing that they were meant for you. And do not attach yourself to the outcome. Just follow those breadcrumbs, which is what I like to call them, knowing that the universe is deliberately providing them to you as you enjoy the journey to your desire. And one last bonus, I know I have mentioned this at least once in a different pod, but always give the universe the creative license to go beyond your wildest dreams. And you can do this by just simply saying this or something better when launching your desires. And then know that with just your word, your desire is on its way to you. And that's it, my friends. We have discussed not messing with the hows. That's right, not messing with the hows. So remember, your job, get clear on what you want and why you want it. The universe's job, orchestrate the how, the mechanics of how our desire shows up. So let's ignore the urge of our mind that wants to take us out of alignment by controlling and obsessing over the hows. And let's stay in alignment by being connected with the energy of our desires while relishing in those incredible emotions of trust and excitement, expansion, and being open. And when we feel like we are falling out of alignment, then take a break, stop everything and catch our breath. Remind ourselves of the why behind our desires. Center ourselves in gratitude. Ask the universe for guidance and act on the universal nudges. And here's an idea. Ask for a sign. Ask for something to be so obvious to you so that you know that the universe is conspiring in your favor. And then get back on track. Stay in your joy and rest in knowing that everything is always working out for us, just so long as we trust the process and stay out of messing with the hows. And now to close out this episode, I want to share a favorite quote from the awesome Jack Canfield, which is, "You don't need to see the whole staircase, you just need to see the next step." And that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found it to be useful. And if you did, please do me a big favor and rate, follow, write a review, and please share it with your friends. Share it with many friends. It all helps me out. It all takes mere seconds, and it truly is appreciated 110%. So thank you so much. And with that, I am your host, Lisa Ryan. This is the Joy-Filled Universe podcast, where we come together every week and explore all the tools and tricks that are going to make your universe even more joyful than it already is. And I will see you next week. Bye.